hands of the fathers Carp and Polycarp, the two priests attached to this village. Lastly, the money concealed, Plushkin resealed himself in the armchair, and seemed at a loss for further material for conversation. "Are you thinking of starting?" at length he inquired, on seeing Chichikov making a trifling movement, though the movement was only to extract from his pocket a handkerchief. Nevertheless, the question reminded Chichikov that there was no further excuse for lingering. "Yes, I must be going," he said as he took his hat. "Then what about the tea?" "Thank you, I will have some on my next visit." "What? Even though I have just ordered the samovar to be got ready?" "Well, well, I myself do not greatly care for tea, for I think it an expensive beverage. Moreover, the price of sugar has risen terribly." "Proshka!" he then shouted. "The samovar will not be needed. Return the sugar to Mavra and tell her to put it back again. But no, bring the sugar here, and I will put it back. Goodbye, dear sir," finally he added to Chichikov. "May the Lord bless you. Hand that letter to the President of the Council, and let him read it. Yes, he is an old friend of mine. We knew one another as schoolfellows." With that, this strange phenomenon, this withered old man, escorted his guest to the gates of the courtyard, and after the guest had departed, ordered the gates to be closed, made the round of the outbuildings for the purpose of ascertaining whether the numerous watchmen were at their posts, peered into the kitchen, where, under the pretence of seeing whether his servants were being properly fed, he made a light meal of cabbage soup and gruel, rated the servants soundly for their thievishness and general bad behaviour, and then returned to his room. Meditating in solitude, he fell to thinking how best he could contrive to recompense his guest for the latter's measureless benevolence. "I will present him," he thought to himself, "with a watch. It is a good silver article, not one of those cheap metal affairs, and though it has suffered some damage, he can easily get that put right. A young man always needs to give a watch to his betrothed. No," he added after further thought, "I will leave him the watch in my will, as a keepsake." Meanwhile, our hero was bowling along in high spirit. Such an unexpected acquisition both of dead souls and of runaway serfs had come as a windfall. Even before reaching Plushkin's village, he had had a presentiment that he would do successful business there, but not business of such preeminent profitableness as had actually resulted. As he proceeded, he whistled, hummed with hand placed trumpet-wise to his mouth, and ended by bursting into a burst of melody so striking that Selifan, after listening for a while, nodded his head and exclaimed, "My word, but the master can sing!" By the time they reached the town, darkness had fallen, and changed the character of the scene. The britchka bounded over the cobblestones, and at length turned into the hostry's courtyard, where the travellers were met by Petrushka. With one hand holding back the tails of his coat, which he never liked to see fly apart, the valet assisted his master to alight. The waiter ran out with a candle in hand and napkin on shoulder. Whether or not Petrushka was glad to see the baron return, it is impossible to say. But at all events, he exchanged a wink with Selifan, and his ordinary morose exterior seemed momentarily to brighten. "Then you have been travelling far, sir?" said the waiter, as he led the way upstairs. "Yes," said Chichikov. "What has happened here in the meanwhile?" "Nothing, sir," replied the waiter, bowing, "except that last night there arrived a military lieutenant. He has got room number 16. "A lieutenant?" "Yes, he came from Ryazan, driving 3 grey horses." On entering his room, Chichikov clapped his hand to his nose and asked his valet why he had never had the windows opened. "But I did have them opened," replied Petrushka. Nevertheless, this was a lie, as Chichikov well knew, though he was too tired to contest the point. After ordering and consuming a light supper of sucking pig, he undressed, plugged beneath the bedclothes, and sank into the profound slumber which comes only to such fortunate folk as are troubled neither by mosquitoes, nor fleas, nor excessive activity of brain. End of Part 1, Chapter 6.